Yeah, not all of us are adult film stars. Not all of us lead that life. But I bet that we can all relate to having to have an ideal that we always had to compete against. And it creates a sense of extreme loneliness and alienation. And listen, you don't have to be an entertainment star to feel this. I feel this. If I'm only just like these things, if I'm only this extra stuff, again, there's so many parallels here. It's like it doesn't matter if you're a star or not. People do this in social media all the time. They just live by the likes and live by the adoration and the affirmation and the validation that just comes in social media. What these commenters are saying is very central and it's very universal to what we experience as gay men. It's this need to find people who love us and want to, we need to amp up our value. The other day, I was really taken aback by the sudden passing of a adult film star named Koby Falks. He was Australian. He was young. I think he was about 42. Now, I don't watch adult films or anything like that, and I only found out basically because I'd read this article. But it stories like this really make me think and really wonder about kind of what's going on the inside of people who on the outside really seem to have it all together. And I'm going to read what was his last post on Instagram and kind of talk about it. And if you are a person who has really been struggling this month in particular, it's Pride Month, I want you to know that you're seen and that there are resources for you. So he wrote, took me years to drop the act. Turns out the scariest thing wasn't being rejected, it was being seen. No more masks, no more performance, just me as I am, raw, real, free. Yeah, I effed up along the way. Yeah, I wore armor a bit too long, but I never stopped searching for the bloke underneath it all. This is the younger me who just wanted to be loved without pretending. And for anyone else out there still hiding, you don't have to be a symbol, just be you. And I read that, and there's been a lot of, when something like this happens, no one's going to come out there and say what happened with the sudden death, but you can kind of read between the lines, and there are lots of comments and stuff like that. But I'm going to talk through some of the things that really stood out to me because they're, in the first, when I first read the article and I saw what he looked like and how buff he was and what a masculine, strong presence he seemed to have, my first inclination was like, why would he do that? And I don't feel bad about having that because I think that's just a natural reaction to we put these ideals on people based on physical outer appearances, and especially men who seem to be really strong, really have it together, have a lot of prowess and a lot of edge to them. And it's really tempting to say that guy has it all together and that guy has everything. And what is he? Why would he do that? And at the same time, I had to really think through why that still bothered me. Not that, I had that initial reaction, but that I could actually relate to a lot of what he wrote, even though I'm worlds apart in terms of like what I do for a living and who I am and, kind of how I look and my age and all that kind of stuff. And I've been thinking a lot, especially because, it's Pride Month and there's a lot of upheaval in the US and there's a lot of angst and frustration, anger, rage, a lot of fear. And in the middle of all of this, there's so many jacked up feelings that it's really hard to parse out kind of like where you stand in a lot of things. And you can become very not knowing where you belong in this whole community. And he wrote that the scariest thing wasn't being rejected. And that's a big issue for a lot of men. Being rejected is very it's hard to deal with, and especially when you feel like you are constantly bumping up into it. Maybe you want to find a life partner, or maybe you want to at least find somebody to date or do things with or whatever. And, you're rejected on your appearance or your age or who you hang out with or any number of things. But he said the scariest thing wasn't being rejected. It was being seen. And then he talked about the armor. He said, no more masks, no more performance, just me. And he said that he wore the armor a bit too long. And like, why do we wear armor in the first place? And that really made me think, like, why? Being in this community is not easy. It's a really hard thing to try to find your place here amidst a very image conscious culture, a very outward appearing thing that we all have to deal with. Physique, the tone of our voice, how we carry, how tall we are, where we live, what we do for a living, where we travel, and the competitiveness is just so hard to keep up that image, And so, yeah, not all of us are adult film stars. Not all of us lead that life. But I bet that we can all relate to having to have an ideal that we always had to compete against in ourselves and against each other. And seeing that and what he had written about the armor, wearing the armor, and how hard it must have been to have to keep up a front. People criticized. I looked through the comments. People were sympathetic toward what had happened to him. But then people were like, well, that's the deal. You signed up for that. Of course you're going to be objectified. Of course you're going to have people not even seeing who you are. But to me, that doesn't really matter. Like, being an object, we're human beings. And so he was having a human moment. Like, I think we all need to have a human moment where we're not these ideals. And yet we chase after all of these ideals. And it creates this way of being that is so hard to carry, really hard to carry. And it creates a sense of extreme loneliness and alienation that I will talk for myself. When I feel this alienation, I'm very aware of where I don't fit in the cracks or in the places where I should fit into. And it's really unfortunate that in a community where not only looks, but we're all have our degrees of trauma in our lives. And we carry that and we're all like squished together in this trauma, this world where we're all traumatized in some way or another. And when you're squished together like this and you have this unresolved like hurt, disappointment, abandonment, never feeling enough, feeling invisible, never being seen, and you come to Pride Month, like, what the hell do I have to be proud about? These guys are just jerks to me. And then I read that and I see a mirror of myself, that it's not like, yeah, I'm not him for sure, but he struggled with it. The scariest thing wasn't being rejected, it was being seen. Like really having to hide who you are, having to keep up something, having to keep something up to keep an illusion up because you need to chase after that. And on the flip side, for me, where I have struggled is that I have fought really hard not to have that up. I have fought really hard to be vulnerable. I have fought really hard to be genuine as much as I could be and authentic as much as I could be. But I have really paid a price, I think, because I've been, I have gone against having to fit something, you know? That's been the hardest thing for me to fit, to fit in. I mean, not fitting in, but not, intentionally not trying to fit in, which means I spend a lot of time by myself. I don't drink a lot, rarely drink, which means my options are very limited because I won't do bar culture. And everyone around me is in these groups, you know, and they all have their groups. And a lot of times, I'll be honest, I'm on the sidelines. I mean, I know it sounds bad. I mean, I do have some good friends, but I can't help but feel that there's something inside me that still feels off or not good enough. And when I go out there, I work hard. I guess I will admit I do have my own version of armor. I work hard at, it's very hard for me to let people know that that's what that is. But I can tell you, I have been really hurt by people who said that they saw me, that they gave me all the impression that they were letting me in, and they just like never followed through. And I'm kind of downplaying never following through because that phrase never following through is full of weeks and months of built up like hurt, anger, confusion, frustration, and I feel like sometimes I'll like boil over from it. And that part is hard for me. But the interesting thing is like I wonder if he turns out the scariest thing wasn't being rejected, it was being seen. No more masks, no more performance. Just me. Just me as I am, raw, real, free. I wonder what happened. And then this is for the younger me who just wanted to be loved without pretending. And I feel like that was inside him still. And we all had that part. We all carry our experiences and our memories. The people have hurt us. All our history, we just carry it around with us. I mean, it's there. You can work through things and you can heal through things and you can kind of make your way through things. But it still kind of makes up who you are, right? And he just wanted to be loved without pretending. And I think to a degree, I know people have an image of me too. And I remember like years ago, people thought, you're always out. You're always this. You're doing this and that. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I'm not. Wow, I'm going to stop posting on Facebook because that's not my life, you know? And eventually I did. I just kind of like stopped doing so much because I was just very anti people getting a perception of me that wasn't accurate. And for anyone else out there still hiding, you don't have to be a symbol. Just be you. You don't have to be a symbol. Just be you. What pressure to have that, to have to, have all that up. I can't imagine. And it makes me feel very sad that, I'm holding back because I feel like there's something under me that just wants to break, just reading this over and over again. But to have that realization, and then to die shortly after that, that's just... that makes me feel very sad. And I wanted to read through some of the comments as well that were on there. I guess this is 2 weeks ago. Someone wrote this. He wrote, "The worst part is it's usually the ones who had the hardest times who turn around and treat people the worst after they attain the look or finally belong to the group instead of ending the cycle." I have to tell you, I know what he means by that. The worst part is it's usually the ones who had the hardest times who turn around and treat people the worst after they attain the look. Yeah, people can be like that. And once they get there, they are so damn exclusive, aren't they? It baffles. It's just hard. There's this protection to make sure that, I think this is the hardest thing to deal with. And this is why I'm going to come out, I don't like pride sometimes. Because on the outside, we all have this parade that's going on and this outer thing again. And it's wee! And, it's like, no. People are crappy to each other. I'm not going to fake it. People just don't celebrate it. There's liberation, of course, but this thing, when people turn around and treat people the worst after they get what they want, essentially is what this guy's saying. Instead of ending the cycle. And the cycle meaning, don't keep excluding people. Don't keep rejecting or bullying or harassing or leaving people out or leaving them behind. This is what I'm talking about. And I like what he said. He says, it's always my goal to make nobody feel left out, regardless of your looks, number of followers, size of your waist. And that's what happy, well-adjusted people do. I really work hard at seeing people. And I think sometimes it's hard to do that after a while, to kind of work at letting people feel seen. It takes effort. It really does. There are days that I wish I didn't. I don't know how to say it. There are days that I wish I didn't have that inclination because it takes energy to see people, especially, hurt people. And especially if you don't get it a lot coming back your way, like when there's an imbalance to it. And it's really hard. I like what he writes too. I promise truly happy people don't seek to hurt others. Derek for Real 3. That's who this guy's name is. Wonderful. Love that. I think that's beautiful. Derek for Real 3. And then someone else wrote, because there's a lot of going back and forth between a lot of opinions and things in this huge, long, bazillion comments thread. You say, and I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't know if I can use certain words, but it says, you say His and other gay men's deaths were party caused by party drugs, booze, and steroids. But that's just the surface. They are a rampant problem in our community that judges each of us by our looks, money, or fame. The deeper pain, the kind that lingers, started long before any substance. Like so many of us, his real struggle came from being gay in a world that tells you you're only valuable if you're entertaining, desirable, or performing for others. And listen, you don't have to be an entertainment star to feel this. I feel this. If I'm only just like these things, if I'm only this extra stuff, what he really craved wasn't the high, it was love, safety, and validation. And damn it, this is what we all want. This is all what we crave. For a while, he thought he found it in fans and attention. And there's so many parallels here. It's like it doesn't matter if you're a star or not. People do this on social media all the time. They just live by the likes and live by the adoration and the affirmation and the validation that just comes in social media. For a while, he thought he found it in fans and attention, mistaking it for happiness. But eventually, he saw how hollow and conditional it all was. That realization that none of it was real can break a person more than any drug ever could. He didn't need more judgment. He needed truth, compassion, and peace. I don't know, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know the circumstances of how he passed. It sounds like there were challenges, and all I can know, because no one really talks about this kind of stuff and people make speculation, but I don't know if it was drugs. I don't know if it was taking his life. I don't know any of these things. But what these commenters are saying is very central and it's very universal to what we experience as gay men. We do have a rampant problem in our community that judges each of us by our looks. I struggle with this all the time. By looks, money, or fame. And, we're not talking celebrity status. It could be just like, again, internet fame, social media fame, whatever it is in your own little neighborhood or whatever. It doesn't matter. It just stays there. It's this need to find people who love us and we need to amp up our value. And I think the reason why I've really struggled and really pondered what this, not every piece of news, gay news or otherwise, gets me like this, but this one, when I read it, it really got me. And because all the stuff that was written before, and there's this haunting element to it, but feeling unseen, like no matter what the circumstances, when you don't feel seen, when you don't feel people know you and can see you, there's something about it that is so despairing. There's something about it that just feels like so despairing, that it's this day in and day out thing where no one sees you, day in and day out where you're people looking past you. And recently someone had said, it was amazing to me, it really made me feel seen. I mean, I couldn't believe it. I thought myself, like, I can't believe this person sees me. I didn't want to believe it. That's how hurt and how much I haven't had it, and how used to it I am not getting it and not feeling it. That when it came my way, and this is, people sabotage this stuff. They push it away. They'll like push it down. They'll do whatever it takes because it's coming their way and they don't deserve it and all that kind of thing. So I thought all that, and I'm like, wow, I can't believe, can I really trust this person? This person really sees me. And wow, I feel like we're on the same page. I feel like, wow, I didn't feel weird about anything. There was no attraction for me. We were at different like life careers, different probably status and all that kind of stuff. But I felt like even, like I felt I had enough of something and then he had enough of something and it was all like in the right kind of balance. And so I didn't feel awkward or weird about it. And and after I got over feeling like it was okay to trust it, um, I watched over the course of months that that whole initial whatever that was started to recede. And all of a sudden I found myself feeling like, God, I feel like imbalanced. It feels weird to me now. And like, is there something up with me? Did I say something? And I felt like I was, I don't do this, but I felt like I was kind of being the one who was like carrying this load or chasing or whatever it is, bringing things to the table. And this is a pattern. I don't like it. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. And I think this is what people like Koby are talking about. It's much more scarier to be seen than to be rejected. See, I'm going to be honest, I would rather have been rejected by this person. I would have been much better off. And this happens all the time. Like, I mean, not all the time, but like I felt this thing in dating things and relationship things. So I would much rather you do the cut than bring me in and have me feel all these things and then drop me, That part hurts. And I don't think that this person knew he was doing it. I don't think so. I mean, if he did, that would be really sad, wouldn't it? I mean, that's really sad to intentionally do that to somebody. But maybe that person just feels that they're all full and they can't relate to it, I don't know. That's why different people, I'm more empathetic. I've been through things. If you haven't been through things, certain things, maybe you're empathetic to other stuff, and that one was the thing he was empathetic to. I don't know. But I can really relate to that fear of being seen because it's like it carries a lot. Like, it's a thing where being seen is like you are giving something of yourself to somebody. And you don't know if they're going to receive it. And, are they going to throw it on the ground and stomp on it and give it back to you a big bloody mess? Or are they going to really take care of it and value it and make you feel like you made a good choice there? And it's hard in the community. I'm going to tell you, it's hard. Because you get so many people with the walls up, the armor up that Koby talks about. That armor, that protection. Everyone's doing it. And so to be vulnerable and kind of make your way through feeling invisible is hard. It's really hard to do that. And this post, it made me sad because I feel like this is a reflection of what we all go through. So if you've Tell me what you feel about that. Have you been through this? Do you know what it's like to be afraid of being seen? Do you know what it's like to never feel like you're seen at all? Has someone seen you and then dropped you? Has someone led you along and made you feel like you were important and then just like cast you off to the side? Has someone like brought you into the group and then decided they didn't really like you and you were out of the group? These are all very primal, very young things, needs, belonging. They go way back, don't they? But who doesn't relate to them? We go through it in school. We go through it when we're kids, and we go through it in work world and gay communities, all of it. So tell me, how do you get through it? And do you feel proud? Tell me, do you feel proud right now when you feel like this? Is there something there? I struggle with it. Share your thoughts in the comments, and thanks for being with me. I really love to hear from you. Peace.